Another disappointing weekend for Tottenham. Feels like we're constantly talking about them not getting the results they want. But Arne Slot is now looking like he's going to be the next manager. I mean, we've not really spoken about that before, so I was wondering what you think about that potential appointment.
Yeah, well, he's a young guy. I think he's only about 44. He's just off the back of winning the league title over there with Feyenoord, so he's in a good place at this moment in time. And I think all these kind of Dutch managers, they're kind of in the same mould a little bit, where they like to play football. You look at the way Ten Hag's come in and really hit the ground running after being at Ajax for a number of years and winning leagues over there. So it's kind of the next step for Dutch managers. They like to go and do well in their own league and then move on. So obviously, Slot is looking for that opportunity. I think Tottenham is a massive football club, but they're in a bit of a mess. So it's a big job ahead of him. But I think if you play a certain style of football, which he will, you like to get the ball down and move it about, play through the thirds, score goals, be expansive. I think these are all the boxes that are going to be ticked for Tottenham moving forward. So, well, ultimately we'll have to wait and see. I mean, there's a lot that needs to go on. We've spoke about Harry Kane, the defensive frailties that they have. They need more attacking play in midfield. So there's a lot that has to be changed in there in a short period of time. So it's a huge job, but obviously a big opportunity as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, actually, just on Harry Kane, I'd seen some quotes from him basically saying exactly what you're saying. There are things do need to change at the club, but I mean, what do you think? What do you think? Coming from Kane, a player within the club at the moment, what do you think he means by this? What do you think he sees as the kind of change that they need to do?
I think for me, and it's always been there, it's a mentality thing. You see, when you're not used to winning trophies and stuff and you get into positions, you don't know what that feels like. I mean, it's even when I was there, it was kind of like, all right, we played well today, but we get beat, but right, okay, on to the next one. And it's just that kind of mentality where you look at the likes of Man City and these kind of teams where they're just so hungry to win trophies and they know how to get it done and get it over the line. And you can't be happy coming second best a little bit. And I think it's went on too long for Tottenham now. I mean, 2008 was the last time they won a trophy, and I was there. I mean, now I'm retired. I mean, it's been a long time, and they've had way better teams along that period of time than when I was there. So they should have been doing much better. So for me, it's been a mentality thing, and it's always been there since 2008.
Yeah, it's like that kind of you don't know what you're missing, do you? If you've never really been a part of that winning squad and you don't know what it's like to win trophy after trophy, you don't know what it's like to lose out, I suppose.
Yeah, and when you're there, it's like Tottenham are a big club with a big backing, huge stadium, new training ground. Everything's there. The facilities are all there, and you can sometimes get a little bit comfortable, I think. And the recruitment hasn't been great. I don't think they have spent money, but I just don't think they've spent it wisely. They've spent over the odds for certain players in certain positions, and repeatedly done it. I mean, you look at the likes of Porro, Emerson Royale, all these guys, Ori, like there's been so many that they've just threw money at and it's not quite worked. So recruitment is absolutely huge moving forward. They can't make these same mistakes or ultimately they'll end up in the same position.
Yeah, well, it actually seems as though, just in terms of recruitment, Levy is kind of being convinced of moving towards a more data-driven recruitment, like the likes of Brentford. Just I think not just for incomings, but for outgoings as well. But I mean, that's a pretty drastic change to make, especially when they don't have a manager. The sporting director position is so uncertain. They don't know the contract situations of a lot of their players. Do you think it's maybe too soon, too much too soon for Levy to be talking about all these big changes?
Well, he needs to try something because what he's been doing before isn't working. Yeah, I mean, look, I understand that the whole Moneyball situation where you look at stats and what players give out, their inputs and their outputs and all. I get that, but as well, you need to know their personality, what they're all about, what they like as a person. Are they going to fit in? You can't just look at data and numbers and think that he's going to ultimately make you better. I mean, if he doesn't suit the style of football that you play, or he doesn't go on with his teammates, it's not going to be an ideal fit. So I think this is something you have to be aware of as well. But you're right, you have to have the right people in the right positions to help with that. It can't just be down to Daniel Levy or whatever. First and foremost, need a manager in, and I think after that he'll assess the squad and have his own opinions. But I think there's a lot of work that needs done. It's not going to happen in one transfer window, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, do you think that this, if Levy is wanting to push towards a different style of recruitment, do you think that that could maybe put off a potential new manager if it's not really something that they see themselves partaking in?
Well, I suppose it really depends. I mean, some managers have a massive say in what goes on in the full football club, whether it comes to recruitment or down to what they eat. I mean, it's literally can go from end to end, or some people just want to look at the what happens on the field and just take care of that. So it really depends who brings in, who wants to manage all this moving forward, because it is a project now. I mean, there's going to have to be a lot of ins and outs, get rid of the kind of the players that he doesn't see fit moving forward and bring the own ones in. But this comes from a manager. You have to give him an option. I mean, if I'm the manager of the football club and I want a fullback, it's like, right, well, here's your 4 or 5 options. What one would you like? It has to kind of work in that way. So the manager has a say in it. But like I said, it's going to take time. I mean, they're going to, I know they have been patient. I mean, they've waited a long time, but again, they're going to have to give them a good few transfer windows with the same manager to try and build something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and obviously we talk about incomings, but there's also potentially a fair few outgoings. Lucas Moura seems to be leaving at the end of the season. There's uncertainty over Harry Kane. Eric Dyer will be going into his last year. I think Hugo Lloris, we don't know what's happening there, but these are obviously guys who have been there, seen it, done it with the club, been there for a long time. Do you think that if they were to lose all of them kind of over the course of the next season, that there's players there who have what it takes to take on that almost that leadership role within the club?
Yeah, I think there will be. I mean, most of the players out with Kane that you mentioned, if you ask most supporters, they would probably say that it is time for a change. It's time for them to move on. The likes of Sanchez and all these guys that have been there for a long period of time, and it's not worked. So it's the ideal opportunity to running the contracts down, move them out, get other people in. And like I said about mentality, try and shift it. Try and get these guys in that are winners, are hungry to go and do something, can play as a unit, as a team, as one in the same direction. Because I think when you've had a lot of these players from the Pochettino era, if you want, all moving forward through all these different managers with all this baggage that they've had, it's difficult just to turn that round. I think you have to inject fresh blood into the group, and that's how you change it. So that's why I say it's such a big job, but first and foremost, manager.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and just kind of speaking on players and potential new contracts. It looks like Liverpool are opening talks with goalkeeper Adrian over a new contract. He wasn't listed in the club's release about the players that are leaving at the end of the season. His deal is up in the summer. But do you think that they would be keeping him if they were to keep him, and he was to agree an extension? They would be keeping him with a view of using him next season, or a view of trying to get a bit of money for him?
Or possibly just like a number three. I mean, Kelleher's still there as well, isn't he? I mean, I
Yeah.
know there was rumours about him possibly moving on. Is that going to happen? I don't know. I think he's a decent goalkeeper, so he's your number two. But you need 3 goalkeepers. So by reading into it, I mean, that looks like the position that he's in at this moment in time. And he, at this stage of his career, he's maybe happy with that. Like we're talking about Bain earlier on,
Yeah.
maybe he's happy with that role within the squad. His family's happy there, so why not sign? So I understand why he's done it, but I don't think it's ever to push Allison.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, one of the other things that seems to be brewing around Tottenham is interest in Kimmich. He's 28. We obviously have spoken before about Bellingham, and that's the kind of direction Liverpool are wanting to push in, this kind of building a younger midfield. But I mean, what do you think about the potential for Kimmich in that Liverpool team?
I think it'd be an outstanding signing if I'm on 28. I mean, it seems like we're getting younger and younger. Like, oh, he's 28 now. It used to be, oh, he's touching 30, but I mean, 28, he's still got a heck of a lot of football in him. Absolute outstanding football player, but I can't see him leaving where he is. If I'm quite honest with you, I mean, I think it'd be a real good signing for Liverpool. I think it's something that's what they need uh, to rebuild that kind of midfield, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I know. It was a weird one. It was a weird one. I read about it. I was like, where's this one coming
Yeah,
from?
I can't see it. I mean, like I said, outstanding footballer. He's just one of those guys that can. He's very versatile. He can play in different. He's very intelligent. He can play in different positions. I mean, Liverpool would probably love to have him, but I just don't see it.